When one thinks of gypsy jazz, you think Django Reinhardt, Stefan Grappelli, and the Hot Club of France, that whole jazz using just string instruments. In fact, it wasn't overly successful when it first started out because people went, where's the saxophone, where's the piano? And of course, there aren't any. Now, I'm sat here with a Fender Stratocaster talking about gypsy jazz. Well, it's not really about the instrument. Of course, you can go all the pure sort of sound. For me, if you play gypsy jazz or record it, it should be in the original style with the original mic and the original materials rather than a nice clean stereo sound. So it really doesn't matter about the instrument, but actually there are quite a few little things with the music side of things that make things sound a bit more gypsy. Let's have a look. So as an intro to the sort of gypsy jazz thing, I was going to go through the changes to minor swing, which is basically 3 chords. It's like a minor blues. You have A minor, D minor and E7. Now some of these shapes are a bit more gypsy jazz specific. Now the A minor here, it's actually an A minor 6th chord. Now what you can do is you can actually play 5 notes here, or you could just use 3 of them for a sort of a darker flavour. What I've got here is middle finger on the 5th fret on the 6th string. So I've got my root note of A, and then I've got my annular finger across C, E and A. So I get an A minor chord. But then my index finger, 4th fret D string, gives me the 6th note of that scale in A. So I get an F sharp. Now that really does give that whole... Now the strumming, it's really clever because you're playing the bass, the chords and the drums at the same time, which is why it works so well, because you have bass and chords, or you can just have chords on all 4 with a little swing component with the upstroke of the plectrum, so you're playing a ride cymbal, ding 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 as well. That sort of thing. Now I've got the backing track on my iPhone here, which is on iReal Pro for minor swing, which is these chords. A minor, D minor, which you can also play up here, E7, and then F7, E7 to A minor. Notice that my dominant 7th is the same shape. I've got A minor 6th here, or A minor, and then I've got E7. But it's got a different, out of tune, it's got a different note in the bass. I've got an E7 chord here, but I've actually got the 5th in the bass. So I've got the root for A minor and the 5th for E7. Now you can reflect all of these different changes in chords in the way that you play the scale as well. Now if we just work with a minor pentatonic. Now, just working with the first 4 strings rather than the thickest 2, because obviously this solo will disappear if you're playing too low. But if I change to that minor 6th for this scale, instead of 8-5, 8-5 on both strings, I could go 8-5, 7-5. Then I'm sort of getting towards this sort of genre. So here's the backing track, and I'm going to play a few of these ideas over it. Downside to all of this, unlike the blues where you can use the same scale all the way through, with these sort of extra extensions that you have with the gypsy jazz stuff, you can't. You've got to sort of change the notes to fit the chord, because we've got A minor and then D minor. Now D minor has got an F, not an F sharp. So naturally They are not going to sound great together. Lovely. So my A minor, I'd use my F sharp, but I could change the F sharp to an F for my next chord, the D minor. So I could actually go... I could do something like that. Now, in lots of the, especially over the dominant chord, the E7 there, I could use what's called the harmonic minor scale. Indeed, if it starts in a different place, the fifth on the dominant here, it becomes something called the Spanish scale. Sounds quite sort of classical sounding, but in the context of this, it's fantastic. It just gives that sort of dominant chord flavour. In terms of that dominant chord, you can also have what's called a 7 flat 9, which is E, G sharp, B, D, F, G sharp. And what you actually get is a diminished run where everything is separated by the 3 semitones. That's a very commonly used trick in the, well, it's not really a trick, it's music, but in the gypsy jazz genre, you hear a lot of those sort of diminished runs. So just going, now we've got the 3 chords. We've got the A minor and the D minor and then the E7. You can use all of those things depending on the chord. So if I go from the beginning once again, got A minor,